This is the Forge Project, a self-development coaching service and community that is dedicated in providing the leadership and guidance to drive improved mental, physical, and energetic well-being for men. And what's cool is that what's going on in a lot of these spaces. See, and this is what I want to kind of pick your brain on, because I think you and I kind of come from a similar, maybe at different ends, but the same cut of cloth.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of this, let's get men to get in touch with their other emotions, right? Because it's for the most part, it's just been anger and happiness that's able to be expressed. And if you express anything else out in society, people get shamed for it. So guys just bottle that shit up, right? They just they don't express it. And that sometimes, depending on the person, those dudes just flipping out and they go off on shooting sprees or whatever, just because they fucking crack loose, and then they get labeled as toxic masculinity. But so there's a lot of groups like that. And so when someone like myself steps in there with just some real simple raw advice, they're like, whoa, that. I mean, that kind of hits a little different and makes sense. And it's well, yeah, that's this man shit hasn't changed since we crawled out of caves.
And that's the biggest thing I preach right there, man.
Yeah.
I just that right there. I'm a really explorer to go in there, because I do a lot of one-off clients, but I do a 3-step program, stuff like that. I'm really getting some good results, and I'm proud of that. You know what I mean?
That's good. It's real good feeling seeing people turn around and they're like, thank you.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man, I get a lot of tears, man. I don't know about you, but man, I get a lot of men that just it's just something I done touched the fabric in them now and man, this is, why haven't I done this before? Why haven't I, you know what I mean? It's amazing stuff, man. So I'm happy with it.
I'm looking, one of my goals is I want Christmas cards. I want dudes sending me Christmas cards, with they were on the verge of a divorce. And then they're sending me those cards, with the picture of the whole family and stuff. As happy holidays, and I can stick it.
Because I'm big on that, man.
Yeah,
I'm big on marriage and kids and being happy, man. But just living masculine the whole time. I mean, I got a wife, you know what I mean? We've been together for 16 years, man, and I have zero problems. I don't have any issues. She has never called me out of my name. She's never yelled at me. And it's all because of the respect that's driven from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I love it. I love being in this mind space. And my dad was there, so that I think that mattered. I think my grandpa was there. I had a lot of strong men in my family, but with old school type of mentality. My dad was a military guy. He ended up being a police officer, and then, just the way he lived his life. Still to this day, man. My dad calls me probably 20 times a week. We talk. You know what I mean? That all that stuff matters, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was just about to say it's not just about being this hard, tough dude, because the best guys that I know, they're not completely sovereign and solitary. They'll check in on people. They'll see how they're doing. They check in on because that's part of being a leader too, right? Because a king has his people. He's got his kingdom, and he's got to watch out for that shit, because they're under his responsibility. So, even you're grown, you said your dad checks in on you, right? Because you're part of his kingdom.
Yeah. And he's real big on the village, we as men, we all need to maintain men around the village too, because you can bump ideas off. So, just like me, I got a core of friends, man. It's about 10 of us, right? So we grew up since we was kids, and not all of them are living a masculine life. I got some friends that he's just a lover, man, just always getting caught up with women, paying this, paying that. No matter what I tell him, no matter what I preach, does not matter. But he's still a close friend of mine. But my dad always believes that if you keep good men around you, if you ever had a situation where you did need to bounce off some ideas of some type of leadership, like then you can talk to these individuals. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
it matters. He said, a lot of times the men, women are ashamed you for being around your male friends a lot, or they're coming over with their wives and stuff like that. He said you're just creating a village, and I totally agree, man. It's like, man, I tell you, man, I don't know what I'll do, what I'll be in it without the homeboys around, because if you're around a lot of feminine energy all the time, you some men, and I will say some men will succumb to certain feminine things that happen, I mean, like talking about others and groups of people and just real feminine stuff that I don't really get on with, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, I'd say that humans in general are adaptive creatures when it comes to survival.
mhm,
So I think in a situation like that, if there was just a guy completely surrounded by women, and where you see this a lot, like especially nowadays when like with the divorce rate started to increase in the 80s, and you had young boys being raised by mothers, by single moms, and her friends and stuff were always around.
mhm.
And of course, they too were divorced. And then so you have these boys being raised around like a lot of women, and there might be maybe an internal thing to not want to go with that. But I think as humans, as very social creatures, we want inclusivity. We don't want to be outcasts, right? Like what's the worst punishment that we could have in the jail system? Solitary confinement, right? Drives
Worse.
people crazy, you
Mhm.
know? So it's like so then the male child will adapt and become more like his community.
Mhm.
And I guess maybe the moms think that's great, but there's a detriment to it down the line, and you're seeing it and I'm seeing it.
Oh, most definitely, man. It's unfortunate, but single motherhood is one of the biggest problems in the country right now, and it's not being addressed properly. The court system is for them. There's a lot of men that want to instill certain things in their kids, and those women that they had kids by, or they didn't vet properly. So then you're gonna have a woman raising a son in the way of a female. Because I've always said that women raise their daughters and spoil their sons.
Hmm.
So what happens is you get a group of strong women that's being maintained, all independent this and don't do that, don't do this. When they're tearing up the women too, but the boys become subservient to the mother, and they become reliant on a woman to take care of them emotionally and physically. So then you got a lot of men in this world that's very timid around women, very can't tell them nothing, can't speak up, like lions roar, right? Like we roar as men. And I ain't saying you got to cuss her out. It's a way to speak as a man to get your point across without being disrespectful. I'm a
Hmm.
master at that.
You don't even need to raise
Um,
your voice if done
you don't.
properly.
You
Hmm.
don't. I use my I'm 6'2", 2'7". I use my presence well. I
Hmm.
posture myself, and I tell men like a lot of times, it's the way that you carry yourself to get your point across. But there's a lot of men that won't even engage themselves in that because this is something that they're not accustomed to. They're used to a woman being in charge, and so
Right.
when your psychological mind is only seeing a woman in charge, and in society today, from commercials to television to radio, I mean, whatever it is, social media big, the woman is in charge. And it's the
Hmm.
woman's time to rule, and patriarchy is no longer. Well, then the men says, okay, well, my mom was right. This is how the world is. This is how it should be. And because of that, then you have unbalanced societies where men are now acting like men, and now women are complaining about men not being men, but they're raising them not to be men. They're raising them to be gentlemen. Women, women, women don't want someone who is going to do everything they want. They don't
No.
want that. And they don't even want 10% of that. They want to be led, and they want structure coming
Hmm.
from the man,
Yeah,
like some
I
type of
tell
plan.
dudes one of the best things you can ever say to a woman is no.
Oh, live with
One
that.
of the best.
Live with that.
And
Start
not,
off with that.
yeah, and not in a rude way. It's not in a rude way. It's
Yeah.
just no.
Mhm.
And they have to get past that fear, because what you're talking about is also a conditioning, because
Mhm.
the kid wants that approval constantly, because of course he should. It's a parent. Kids always want the approval of their parents.
Mhm.
So when it's just the mother that's there, they only have that approval factor there. They don't have the
Mhm.
male approval that says, I want to see you push through. I want to see you stand up after you've gotten knocked down. I want to see you prove yourself to yourself. I want to see you make your own standards and grow past them, right? Their mom's not doing that. So they only have like one side to kind of measure up to, and it leaves them just kind of like only partially developed.
And it's like it's a second generation of it now. So even if the
Mhm.
father is there, we got soft men with that's fathers
Oh yeah.
that's been raised like that. So now they raise their sons that way. So now you got a second generation of soft men that can't do anything like a man should, right?
Mhm.
So there's no tradition. There's no traditional man, and that's where for me, I come in at. They call me Mr. 1950. I believe in the values of a family, the core values in mom, no, dad, mom, kids, and just like that in that order. And seeing how women are demeaning women who wants to stay home and take care of their kids, or even working mom that want to come home and take care of the kids. There was a time in life where success for a woman was a husband, kids, and a happy family. Now success to them is making money in an industry of making money. Oh,
Mhm.
degrees, and now I'm a Fortune CEO at this company. That's success to them. But what they don't understand is that success is the family. Even the man is saying that.
Mhm.
My job does not make me successful. Making money does not make me successful. What makes me successful is this legacy that I'm leaving on these kids, and the balance that I'm bringing to the family.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a number of female friends who are, you would consider, and actually they consider themselves alpha females, and
No such thing.
they
Mhm.
bought into that whole narrative that you're talking about, and they went and they got the master's degrees, they got the PhDs, they went and working for people like Elon Musk, right? And they're bosses of their own lives. And but guess what? All of them are fucking unhappy as fuck.
Mhm. Yeah, and
They're
unfulfilled.
completely unsatisfied and unhappy, and now they're in their early 40s and they can't get any dates.
They
And
won't.
thankfully a number of them are waking up, and they're having an oh fuck moment,
Mhm.
and because they
Yeah.
realize they took the wrong pill, and they're like, shit, I
Mhm.
followed the narrative of what it was that was being prescribed to me as what will make me a strong, powerful woman, and it wasn't it. I still don't feel, I can move in the world, sure, but I don't feel strong, right? I don't feel fulfilled. And a lot of them are changing their ways. They're like, fuck, like I hope it's not too late. I really don't. And working out like crazy to stay like trim and fit. And it's like, all right, well,
Late.
best of
40
luck to
is
you.
40 is too late too. You know what I mean? When you got
Yep.
when you're 40 years old and you're just now finding out anything about how men want to be treated, you're not going to be successful. No, and there's no man that want to be in a relationship where everything he does has to be a compromise. Everything he does has to be have an opinion put on it. Like I don't want to be in an environment like that. As I'm getting older, because I don't know how you are, but I'm 42 going on 43 this year, and I always tell people like at this age, man, I'm trying to have a good time with a companion that is going to be cooperative,
Yes.
be very much understanding, and knows her position in our household.
Hmm.
So I don't have time to explain myself to a 40-year-old woman that probably is going to have opinions and old baggage that she's going to try to bring in a relationship, um, I just wouldn't have time with that. So even if I was a single man right now, I would look back and say, I'm going to grab me a 28-year-old and I'm going to mold this 28-year-old into understanding what life is like, right? Because that way the
It's funny you
preconditions.
say that because
Yeah.
I'm 43 and my girl's 28 years old.
Oh, it's perfect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
perfect because
Yeah.
that at that age, that's when they're understanding. Okay, well, I want some kids, but then I also want a man with strong values in family, and my time right now is I'm getting close, so I need to start listening to somebody. Otherwise, this ain't gonna work out for me in my life, man.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
she's a smart cookie and
mhm,
understands the power of polarity. She
mhm,
understands that actually by giving my masculinity space, by not trying to take it up with her own, right? Because she's learned. I mean, she's a modern woman. She knows
mhm,
like kind of how to tap into that. And she
mhm,
has to be because she works in corporate America, right?
mhm.
But when she's around me, it's gone. It's not even
Yeah,
there because she
perfect.
understands the power of it. That when I'm more in that, it allows her femininity to come out even more. And that's where the
Mhm.
strength is.
That's
And
what it's
she
strength at.
feels more beautiful, more sexy, and can understand the power that she has in like kind of rolling with that feminine energy. And I'm like, see, that's what's up. Every time you spend with me, you open up more, you get deeper into yourself, and you feel sexier. And I don't mean just in a sex way, just like general sense of the word. And
Mhm.
it's a wonderful thing to see happen, watching her like grow and open up in that way. And it's amazing. And I wish more guys could understand that, because it's getting more into your masculinity that will do that, not getting more into your femininity.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really fucked up that way.
Yeah, and it's dope that she understands that. I think that's one of the biggest parts. I mean, she understands where she fits in life.
Mhm.
A lot of women feel like they're the whole puzzle, and they don't need no pieces from a man. And if we want to fit in their life, then this is what we need to do. It's all backward. That's totally wrong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And for them to feel that way is unfortunate, because that's when they're going to miss out on guys who can change their life, and have them feel better in their own lives, because they're then being who they're supposed to be, which is a feminine vessel.
Yes. And because they're not in touch with it enough, they don't realize the amount of strength that it can actually bring. It's
Oh,
just not a
100.
strength that they think about, because when they think of strength, they think of us. And their
Mm-hmm.
strength is not like that at all. So they don't even know
Mm-hmm.
what kind of context to put it in. And I was into this discussion with this woman on Clubhouse, and it almost turned into an argument because she's coming at me, and she was of that mindset like, I did everything for me. I have all of my aspects. I, in a sense, like, I don't need a man. I
Mm-hmm.
choose to want a man. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But she was coming at it from like, I'm the buyer, right? And I'm of the mindset that men are the buyer. It's a
Mm-hmm.
buyer's market if it's a guy who knows himself, right? That's the linchpin. But let's say we are talking about a guy who knows himself. It's always a buyer's market in his sense, because men control commitment.
Yeah.
She could be all about herself and be complete and not need a man from head to toe, but she still has to be at the whim of a man's commitment.
Most
And
definitely.
yep, and he's the one that calls that shot.
They don't like to hear that. They
No,
still like to feel like they're in control of that.
yeah, she got upset
Yeah.
when I told her that I had a roster a year ago of 4 women, and this lady that I'm with right now, I chose her because she stood out. She proved herself and kept proving herself. Didn't get
Yeah.
bored, didn't get annoyed, and I'm like, all right, you win.
It is, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. And that's when I tell you, that's around the age they start understanding, man.
Hmm.
When they get a certain age, they get to a blaming age too, because they don't want to look in the mirror or reflection and say, hey, maybe I should have done some things different. I was on the Alpha Kingdom and this last Sunday, and I normally don't get out of my zone, but I did, and it was this young lady on there acting like she was the prize of all men, and she didn't want to take no direction. She didn't want to. She was just non-coachable. So I had to literally let her know I didn't cuss at her though. I didn't do anything like that, but I'm talking aggressive. And see, the thing is that they don't like when men roar. They don't like when men get to it because it's all masculinity that they're not used to. If she was explaining her exes and how they were, and you could just see this is why she's the way she is because she's always been in control. So she doesn't understand how to follow. She doesn't understand what a leader looks like.
Mhm.
And I kept letting her know, like, hey, you need some structure in your life. There's some missing pieces that you're missing right now. And me as a man, I'm gonna tell you, hey, this is what you need, and I'm trying to help you out. But you don't you don't necessarily need to be helped by me, but you need to be helped by someone. You need to, and that's the resources that women normally don't call on. They normally high five each other. They'll go to a women create their own environment of their happiness, meaning they will never have somebody around them that's ever going to hold them accountable. They create their own image of themselves around them.
Mhm.
And they're in this bubble. So as men, because we have so many different personalities, everybody may agree, and it's going to be somebody like, yeah, I'm not really feeling that. This is why, and this is how men we're cool with that. Like it's whatever.
Mhm.
Women are not okay with that. So if they got a woman in the bunch that believes in housewives, traditional marriage, and everybody else like, oh no, they'll ostracize this woman. This woman
Mhm.
will eventually not be around anymore because they want a space where they can hear themselves speak and live in their own head. So that's
Yes.
why you see a lot of women not getting any better because they don't hold each other accountable.
No. No, there's no like brave enough to hold each other accountable
Brave enough
because
is the word.
right,
Yeah.
because you step out, there's a risk that you're gonna you could get followed or you could get shunned. And there's a high
Mhm.
risk of getting shunned.
Mhm.
And you bring up a really good point that I got into a conversation with somebody else, and they said that women feed themselves their own fantasies. And that's why, and it ties into the accountability thing. It ties into because from there you can justify all sorts of shit as long as you just run it into your truth telling machine and make
Mhm.
it work for you. And that can play out to uh, blaming men for certain things when really it's you because you're the
Mhm.
common denominator, right? They
Mhm.
say all these men ain't shit, and it's like, well, but you're the one constant, right? In this
Mhm.
equation, they're the variable, you're the constant. Why aren't you looking at yourself? Why aren't you standing in front of the mirror, right? And it's hard, but it does take a guy who knows his shit and has the wherewithal to stand in front of her and check what she's doing.
Mhm.
Not every guy can
I,
do that.
I don't think that happens enough. I think men feel like, man, I don't want to go back and forth with this woman. And it's okay sometimes. Sometimes I don't. But
Mhm.
that was the day. And so sometimes men need to check women. Like
Mhm.
what you're saying is totally wrong. It's not even going to be accepted. And if you ever want to be happy, this is the things you need to do because you're not going to reach that by dealing with these type of men. And
No.
those are the men who are raised a certain way or even adopt a certain mindset. Like I do a lot of coaching sessions, and the first thing I always ask them are, what are your principles? And every time they always include women in their own principles. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm talking about your principles. Let's
Mhm.
separate women altogether, and let's just talk about you as a man. Like, what are your principles? What do you live by? What do you stand for? What are some of your values?
Yep.
What are your goals? And everything, man, it's always come
And
back to
and
some
most of
type of
them don't
woman.
know what it is.
Now
Like
they
if you
don't
like
know.
list them out, I made a list of mine. There's
Yeah.
20. There's 21 of
I
them.
got I got 25.
All right.
See, you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's amazing because I got a guy that's coming back next week. I had him write his own because I told him a little bit of my mind, but I wanted him to write his own. And next week I gave him homework. I said, I need you to write at least give me 10. I said, I'm at 25. But we're
Mhm.
gonna start with you. Let's get you 10. And then I need 5 goals that you want as a man. I don't care if it's buying a house or little as creating your own business for yourself. I don't care what is I need for you to create something for you. You need to understand that falling in love with yourself is the biggest key to happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no woman completes me. They complement my lifestyle. You get what I'm saying?
Oh
So
yeah, absolutely.
they're a part of me, but they're not a part of my vision of how I want to run my life. If my woman left tomorrow, I would not shed a tear. And we've been together forever. I have found a space in me to emotionally detach myself from anything that's not of value to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've really I am a master at understanding myself. I can smoke cigar in the backyard and feel so good about myself doing that and enjoying my space, watch a couple games, go to work out a little bit, do some things with the kids. I don't need, and is it because I'm 42? Maybe, I don't know. But even 10 years ago, when I started this journey of being mentally married to myself, like, I'm telling you, man, a lot of things that we're taught, and luckily because of my father and my grandfather, a lot of those things was never brought to me that was solid. So my dad's a big component of men, like understanding who they are before they enter any type of relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. The unfortunate thing is that there's not a lot of guys teaching this sort of thing. And I think that's kind of what's coming about in our generation and people like us, is that we are thinking about it and putting it into a way that can be conveyed in words or graphs or whatever you want to do, but being able to share it in such a way that it can be understood. Because generations, they just were, right? You look at the past generations, you look at your grandfather, he just was like, he just understood that he found happiness by marrying himself, but wouldn't even put that into words. It just did it. Now, people like us, we think about these things, and now we have to be able to instruct it to other guys and say, look, you have to marry yourself. And they'll be like, well, what do you mean by that? And then you got to break it down for them,
Yeah.
because they're so detached from self pleasure and uh, too much in touch with self rejection that they're all fucking confused. They have their lives completely backwards, and then looking to the outside and saying,
Mhm.
"Am I good enough?" And it's like, dude, you have it all
Yeah,
fucking
well,
backwards.
and it's amazing.
Right. It starts with the self
Mhm.
love and the self acceptance, and then saying, what do I want? Growing towards that. And then not even bothering asking if it's good enough, because you already know it's good enough.
And it's amazing that the simplest things to me and you is very, very much simple, but to
Mhm.
them, it's very hard for them to grasp what we're saying to them.
Yeah.
And just talking to men on a regular basis, you find that a lot of them just don't use their resources. They have resources around, and then they start listening to people on YouTube. And people on YouTube, you gotta understand. Like, I'm on YouTube, and I do a pretty successful show, but even then, I never tell men to follow me, and I never tell men this is what you need to do, because I think every man is unique, and you
Mhm.
create. And once you marry yourself, you create a lane for yourself. you
Mhm.
create you create an area of space where you run your kingdom this way. And I think that's very, very much important. And I think a lot of times when we get caught up with a lot of different theories, then those theories, men say, don't do this, don't do that, don't, you know what I mean? And I think that's really wrong when you're limiting in men's space. Like, there's a lot of theories out there that say, don't mess with single mothers. Well, there's a lot of quality single mothers where that can fulfill a lot of these men if they have the guidance and understanding how to navigate through
Mhm.
some of the trials and tribulations that you're going to have inside of that relationship, with her having a kid, a father being around a kid, and all this stuff. But if you're a strong man and you can really navigate through that, then you can be happy. So you're cutting off, because 60% of single mothers are here, right?
Mhm.
So you're really cutting off a man's you're cutting off his you cutting off half of the lake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't fish in half of the lake. And I'm not like quality men. I consider myself a quality man. I'm big on my principles. I create a space of me of being successful on a daily basis. I'm a strong man to not only myself and others. I got good presence. I make good, really good money. And I think after that, I got a really good integrity and character, and I have a real big moral compass. And so I consider myself a man of want, right? So like someone like myself, I can go and I can compete in a market of compete in a market at a position that I want in a job, or I can create my own. Um, I can live my best life, and then there's going to be several women that's going to notice my life being lived that way that wants to be a part of it, and it's real easy for them to adapt to my lifestyle if I want that. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But there's going to be some men there's never going to be on that wavelength. And if you're
Mhm.
taking away 60% of their lake, you're leaving them with what? You get what I'm saying? And that's why I always encourage men, find who you are first until you before you can find that woman. I'm not saying stop messing with them, because
Oh no,
you can
no. Yeah, you
enjoy yourself.
enjoy, and you'll learn a lot too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
But
one of the most least desirable guys is a guy who has no experience with women.
mm,
So yeah, just keep learning
stay
about
active.
yourself, but keep getting that ass,
Yeah, keep
right?
getting that ass, tearing something up. And I always tell men, progress doesn't come without resistance. So you're not going to be able to be this new you without people around you saying, "Hold on, you shouldn't do that, man. You shouldn't do that," or women disliking you because you're acting a certain way.
Mhm.
Progress is not going to come without resistance. And the biggest thing you need to know as a man when you actually marry yourself is, you know what? I'm not afraid of being alone if I need to be.
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of moving alone if I need to
Dude,
be.
it's
It
enjoyable.
it's enjoyable. And
Mhm.
see, and that is a fear of a lot of men, because women have instilled with them at a very young age that you need somebody in your life to complete who you are as a man. So
Mhm.
then they because I've been lonely in my life. I've never been lonely. I've always had a mental capacity of understanding what that time means for me. But there is a lot of men that feel like I need this and I need that, and they feel empty without it. So they get thirsty, and then they get thirsty, and they get desperate. Then they get in a situation where the woman is making you compromise on everything you believe in, and then you're not able to be your true self, and you're going to be unhappy 10 years from now. Even I wouldn't even say 10; it'll be a month. and
Yeah,
and
but
but
after
that's
that
just
month,
me.
it's easy to push down for just a month, and they just
Yeah.
keep pushing it. They're like, it's all right, right? Like I heard this one little parable about this guy, and he walks up to this person, and they're sitting there on the porch with their dog, and the dog was whimpering, and he's like, "What's wrong with your dog?" And he's like, "Oh, he's got a nail stuck in his leg." And he's like, "Well, but it won't let me take it out because that'll hurt. But it doesn't hurt so bad that he'll let me take it out, right? Like he can live with it."
Mm,
And he's like, "Well, I the only option to do is just wait until it abscesses, and we have to take him to the hospital." And
mhm,
that's how most dudes are. They got that nail in their leg,
mhm,
and it's tolerable pain. It's tolerable anxiety. It's just their whole mentality is tolerable. So then they're like, I can live with this, right? She's here, right? I got
yeah,
somebody.
you
And
right.
and then but to because to remove that nail would be to slip a mirror between him and her,
Mhm,
and he'd have to face himself, and that's painful, right? It's painful to pull out that nail and say, damn, I'm fucking myself up. Like all this pain, all this anxiety, the fear I have, the the rejection shit that I got going on inside myself, all of that is
mhm.
because of me. And it's a tough pill to swallow,
Real
that a
tough, man.
lot of dudes just don't have the wherewithal to deal with it. And it hit me hard, when Steve the Dean mentioned this. He said, not everyone's made out to be a lion on the Serengeti.
Mhm.
And I thought about that, and I'm like, you know what? That makes sense, because if you look at nature, right, zebras, they populate in the hundreds, right? You see like a like I forget what the collection of zebras is called, but it's huge, right? Lions, it's just a small pack.
Small pack.
Now, if they had equal numbers, it would completely fuck up the ecosystem.
Of course.
Right? The lions would just decimate, and then they would end up starving. So that's why the lions just have to stay in small numbers. That's just how nature works.
And it works in a way if the lions are needed also.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever seen the wolves of Yellowstone Park. Have you seen that?
No.
So they got a documentary. It's like about 10 minutes long, but it's because the wolves of Yellowstone Park, people were saying, man, they're so vicious. They're eating the gazelles. They're eating like the buffaloes and all the stuff. So they actually removed the wolves, right? They removed the wolves. So what happened was it tore the ecosystem up at the Yellowstone Park. So all the animals start populating more, right? They start grazing. So it was like a desert out there. The waters and the banks from even the animals that would take care of the waters in the bank couldn't eat. They were dying off. So now the water didn't have no place. It was amazing on how they explained it and how it looked. So they had to bring the wolves back. And then within 2 years of the wolves being back, everything start going back to normal.
Yeah.
So like I was going to do a show on that, because I feel like that's really what's going on with the man right now, right?
Yep.
Like they're
definitely
they're trying to take us out, and what they are finally understanding is there is no real ecosystem without the man, and that's exactly what happened with the wolves. The wolves start being wolves again. They were hunting, they were killing, they were running around in packs. And everything started growing, from the trees and the animals. The water had the beavers and stuff was knocking stuff down because they couldn't eat either, because there was nothing to graze on, right? There was nothing. It destroyed the ecosystem. There's a reason why things are the way they are, and I think society is really headbenched on the man needs to be this way, but it's never been that way, right?
Yep.
And we are supposed to evolve, but women are not. Women can do and run the way they want to run. And I'm a guy who always says it's never their fault. It's our fault, because we are the leaders. And because we're the leaders, we should never allow this to happen. Right? So we have to put ourselves in a position, and that's why I call myself a traditional man, is because in my household, it's going to be ran this way. It's my program. And if we fail, it's because of me. So guess what? There's going to be accountability hell for everybody in here, because I need to be successful. I need to make sure these kids are getting older, and I need for them to be disciplined, and I need them to be successful in their own lives. I need this household to be ran in a certain way in order for me to be happy. In order for her to be happy, I got to make sure that I'm doing the stuff that's going to make her happy inside this household. And that's not compromising who I am as a man. I'm still going to have my dignity, and I'm still going to walk around here like a man, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is, man. Fucking mic drop. But the big issue that I see is that we become, just as a culture of humans, I guess in first world, we become very dependent and aware of social observances of us because of social media, right? So now we have our personas out there to some degree, and then it can easily be put under scrutiny by a social collective. Now, if that social collective is changing, then we become very susceptible to this. And we've seen it with I forget his name. There was a stand-up comic, and he made a joke, and there was one guy in the audience and found offense to this. But he had a massive following on Twitter.
And Bill Maher.
What was no, it wasn't.
His name,
was I don't
Maher?
know. No, it wasn't Bill Maher. But
Bar, or is it Bar?
Or are you thinking Bill Burr?
Bill
Burr. Oh man, I fucking love that dude.
Yeah. Because he goes hard. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, but no, but the I can't remember who it was, but they no, it wasn't Bill Burr because the person's career got totally fucked because of this one joke and this one guy who had a voice in social media that was very big and was like, "This guy hurt my feelings. I found that offensive." And then after that, there was such the huge amount of social pressure that he had to come out and apologize for a
I ain't doing that.
joke. For a joke.
I don't give a damn if I
Because
go
the
broke.
pressure was that big, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, Bill, man, he's got some good fucking shit. Like I love that one where he's like, he's like, what's up with that phrase that women say that there's never any reason to hit a woman? And it's like, I'm not advocating that we should hit women, but are you really saying there's never ever a reason to like? Are you really floating that high off the fucking ground that there's never a reason? He's like, I can come off with 10 off the top of my head right
He's a
now.
beast, man. And they're coming for him. I read something that they're trying. There was a group of women that really tried to come for him, though. Like
I believe it.
they try to take him out. But I mean, he's Netflix, man. You're untouchable. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
He doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like what so what do you think? Like I mentioned you had I noticed you had a video up about masculinity being attacked in society, and we're kind of touching on that a little bit. So like what other ways, I mean, besides in social media, like do you see that men are being attacked for being themselves?
Well, I just think it's an uncomfortable feeling when you have men that are afraid to talk to women because of some of the social constructs of what's appropriate and what's not. Like you got a lot of men that are like, if it's not videotaped, they can't even have a woman over their house. You know what I mean? The Me Too movement is a big one, right? Because
I heard about this one dude. He has contracts. This one dude I heard he uses a contract
I
that
wouldn't be
says,
surprised.
yeah, that says that, like that she's agreeing to a whole bunch of different things, and she can't come after him legally. And it's
now,
like, damn,
I understand. I understand if men, the women need to be protected too in ways, right? And I understand there's scumbags in the world, but that's a small percentage. And what I'm saying is that everybody has to pay for all these men to, that act a certain way. I just find, like, when you talk about the Me Too, nobody even knows, but there's a Him Too movement too that people don't even know about.
I haven't heard that. Unravel
Exactly. So the Him Too movement is for all the women who accuse men of rape when it's come out to be false, or sexual assault when they come out and it's false and it's fake. Like, there's a group that really that this is a real organization, man.
Damn.
And so, but the thing is that I know, but why ain't nobody talk about it? Why hasn't anybody said anything about it? Well, you know why? It's because they don't want men to organize to the point where things are going to be socially unacceptable. Like for me, like, I don't have a problem with homosexuality, but I don't think any of it should be glorified. Like, I don't know why we need to have glorification of so many different things, where I feel like that. Why do I care about who you're sleeping with? Like, why is that why is it this brought to me? Why is it brought to me in this way? Just like when it comes to race for me, right? And I'm not getting off. I'm on the point what you're saying. When it comes to race, like, why is it that everybody needs to discuss the origin of everybody's race to each other and communicating in regards of what's right, what's wrong? We all know what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, there shouldn't be no education needed on treating somebody with respect and honor, right? And it doesn't matter who you are, right? And it's a big push for separatism. Well, that's feminine. Masculinity is more of, we're going to talk through this. We're going to draw a line in the sand on what we can and can't do. And if you come across it, then I'm going to tear your head off. And that's just a part of it, right? Mm-hmm. Now they having so many different lanes that you need to be in. It's such a because a female has so many a female has so many rules to their relationships. You can't do this, and this. And if you do one of them, we're gonna either argue and fight, and I'll never talk to you again. This is not a manly thing, man. We can go from the shoulders, we can box, and we'll be cool a week later, a day,
Mm-hmm.
couple of days later, because we understand that sometimes people need to understand your boundaries.
Sure.
And we're walking around right now in the world where people have way too many boundaries for everything. I can't come out and say things that's in this way or that way. That's not masculine. We should be able to speak freely. We
Mm-hmm.
should be able to say what we want when we want it. Now, if it comes with a consequence, that's fine. I know as a man I can handle it. But you shouldn't be free in space to saying what you want. And this is what I mean by being attacked on masculinity, is because what now society is bringing to an area of you can only say what's acceptable overall to everyone, not you. And that's what I got a problem with. Then when it comes to women, if you look at how the courts are being ran, from custody, child support, welfare. I mean, there's so many areas where men are uh, like, it's so disturbingly unfair and
Mm-hmm.
nobody ever addresses it. We're in a position of submission. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing we can do. And as a man, now we are saying to ourselves, well, I can't deal with this kid. I can't deal with this woman. These courts got me messed up. I'm not dealing with that. So now we're in a position where we're not even taking care of our kids and stuff because of feelings. And it's just so many different ways, man. Attack on masculinity is happening. It's been happening. The demasculation of a man, the way we act, talk, dress, um, all that is under attack, man. Nothing is normal for a man anymore. Men are supposed to evolve. We have to evolve into something that they feel is manly in their lens.
Yep. And it comes down to self-knowledge, because if that's there, then you can't let something else change who you are.
Mm.
Right. So
Yeah,
it's the people who have those guys who have a complete disconnect with themselves that are easily led. They're
of
easily
course.
changed and easily molded into what is deemed as acceptable. And some of the guys, I tell them about this children's story that I read my kids. There's a story that I read that my mother read to me when I was a kid. It came out in the 70s. And it's about this bear, and he goes to school, and he's just does his school shit, and he comes back, and he's got this painting that he did of his mother, and he's so proud of it, and he loves this painting. And he comes up and he meets Giraffe, and he's like, Giraffe, you like my painting? And the Giraffe's like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but the neck is too short. And he's like, oh, let me fix that for you. It makes the neck longer. And he's walking home and he's got his painting, and then he comes across Crocodile. And Crocodile's like, I love that painting, but the mouth is too small. And he goes and he changes the mouth, right? Makes it
Mm-hmm.
bigger. And Crocodile's like, great, looks awesome. And he does the same thing when he meets Lion and all these other animals. He gets home finally with this monstrosity of a portrait. And he says, Mom, look at the painting I made of you. Don't you love it? And the illustrator didn't fuck with it. Like the mom had shock on her face, but
Mm-hmm.
then lied to the boy, was just like, yeah, it's beautiful. Let's put it up on the fridge. But the point is that he listened to everything that everyone else had to say about what he did,
That's
and it
dope.
totally fucked everything up.
That's a dope concept, though.
Yeah.
That is a daily life of a lot of men.
Mm-hmm. And they get so twisted around, and now they can't relate with that painting anymore, and they're all fucked up, and it's incredibly insidious, because there's always a consequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because women still like masculine men.
Of course.
That's the fuckery of all this,
And they
because
and they say that's what they want. That's what they say they want.
yeah. So it's like, well, what do you want? You want an obedient man, or do you want a masculine man who may or may not be obedient? You just have to take that risk, right? Like, sometimes a guy will be masculine and stay in the straight and narrow. Sometimes you're gonna wild out. That's the cost,
That's the cost, but that's a risk for everybody.
Exactly.
I mean, you can find a subservient man that gets real depressing and is totally distanced from you, from even talking to you. He would be empty inside. That's what they say. And he would not be engaging with you long term. I mean, he got his own issues. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. But I'm a guy who enjoys speaking my mind. Hey, this is what I create my own environment, man. I really do. I don't. Hey, if we got to argue for a little bit until we get this right, and then that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
You cannot be afraid of combat.
No, not at all. And that's part of that. I think guys are really afraid to tap into is that inner warrior that's there that says, no, fuck you. My survival is important to me.
Yeah.
But if, like what you were saying with principles, if they don't have any sense of what they stand for, then what are they fighting about? They just have the feeling, right? They'll fall for anything, or they'll fight for anything.
I love it, man.
Yeah, it's
to the choir, man.
It's really messed up. I got into this thing with this girl. I made this post on Instagram, and I said toxic masculinity, because I don't believe toxic masculinity even exists.
It doesn't.
But I said toxic masculinity is toxic until the barbarians are knocking at the gate. And
that is perfectly put.
Right? Because and it all comes down to masculinity is only good when it's convenient to me. That's the narrative that's out there. I only like the good parts. And it's like, well, fuck, that's not how masculinity works. Right?
Or murder is masculine.
Yeah.
People don't, it's conquer, it's dominate. I mean, that's a part of it.
Right. And I'm pointing out, it's like, hey, everything that you're enjoying right now is due to that aggression, right? Aggression made the Wright brothers say, you know what? Fuck, I know we can't fly, but God damn it, we're going to fly. Right? That's aggression. That's saying, I'm going to conquer the air. Fucking air. They said, we're going to conquer air.
You know what?
And everyone thought they were crazy. Can't go to,
they point at the moon. You know what? We're that's where we're going to go.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
fucking going there. Yeah.
And I'm like, that argument that you're having with me on that cell phone, that's someone who said, you know what, fuck, we're going to have communication that we can take anywhere we want, right? And it was made by a dude, right? Yeah. All the things, internal plumbing, right? That the aqueducts that were designed by the Roman Empire that fucking pretty much almost took over the whole world, right? They started indoor plumbing with the aqueducts, right? That started the whole fucking thing. So it's like, but they can't say, oh, well, we only want you to take, if they weren't those conquerors who created that empire, it wouldn't have led to the mindset of saying, let's build.
I think Kevin Samuel said it. He was saying, you know, and I agree and I disagree with him, but he's pretty good at what he does. But he was saying that men has civilized the world so much, we have you believing that you don't even need us. But if we walked away today, all of us, no men, zero, there will be millions and millions of you dying because we run the world, from the garbage to the electricity plants to he was naming all the stuff, and he's right. All the major things that make you feel comfortable. See, he says women can leave the house and know that, hey, all this is ran by women. And I mean by men, and they all say, oh, we can do it if he wasn't around. Well, you're still not choosing these jobs for a reason.
Yeah. Do you know how to run an electrical plant?
Exactly. And not just that, just from your water supply.
Yeah.
He always brings up Bear Grylls, and he says something like, and it makes sense. He said they dropped 15 men off into a jungle, and they dropped 15 women off into a jungle, 2 separate places. And they said the men within hours had built them a place to stay. They done found out where the water supply was, how to get the water, how to get the food. They said the women didn't have 85% of that. They didn't have shelter. And then they said when they found food, well, a pig, they had a pig, they named it. It said they said you didn't. He said, men, they done skinned it and hung it up. And they said he said that the producers were saying that
y'all gonna die.
we yeah, and yeah, because this is what they did. They actually, when it came time to finally eat, because they were so hungry, they actually killed the pig. But because they ate some of it, they did what they did to eat some of it. But what they did was they put it to keep the fish, the meat fresh. They put it in their water supply. They was thinking the water, so it contaminated the water supply. And then so the producers like, no. Okay, end of this whole thing.
Stop.
You're going to kill yourself.
Cut.
You see what I'm saying? So and I totally agree. So it's like, I don't think we've civilized the world so much that we have them believing that they don't even need us. If you go to mechanics, your car mechanic, I have never seen a woman car mechanic.
I know
my
one.
entire life.
I know one.
Yeah, and so just imagine this. We're talking about trucks delivering products and then breaking down. We got oil refineries.
Just think about it. You get a grocery truck, right? So like I live here, I'm in Brooklyn, right? And these big ass semis come through loaded with groceries on pallets, right? Same sort of thing, right? It's all dudes, right? Because these food comes out on massive pallets. You got to know how to drive a forklift. Then once it's on the ground, they got to take these apart and hoist all that shit on their shoulders into the store. And they're in bulk. They're not going to cut these things down into like little arm-sized things. No, they would take them 3 days to load up the store.
So again, and he was saying, just out of respect, to know that we're running and making you feel comfortable in your own skin. The nerve of you to walk around and act like you don't need us. The nerve. And see, that is where I'm at. It's like there is such a space for us in this world. The patriarchy is still alive. I always say it. Patriarchy is still alive. The level of understanding where respect is. Submission comes from what, right? And what people don't understand what submission really comes from, it comes from the fact that as a man, physically, woman, I can make you physically submit if I wanted to. But see, people don't analyze it that way. They don't analyze it on why, or is the weaker vessel submitting to the bigger strong, because that is the patriarchy even in the natural wild. The bigger, stronger gets to eat first. They get all the perks of it, but then when it comes down to violence from other animals, they have to show up.
Yeah.
And then this is the part where they don't understand. It's like, as men, that's why when we say we're equal and 50-50, no, we're none of that.
No. And one of the responses, this lady, like on that post that I said, you've never been faced with an angry 250-pound armed man.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I would just be there and defend with my man. And I'm like, she's like, I had to fend off some dude while I was running. And my first, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who's want to bash down your door and kill you, right? Your 125-pound ass isn't going to do shit, right?
There's nothing you can do.
No. And Joe Rogan brought this up. I mean, just as a side tangent about this guy who, let's say that they identified as a woman and went into MMA, right? And this individual who was born as a man with all the genetics of a man, with the denser bones, the faster reflexes, the stronger, denser muscles, the longer reach, and the greater height, and the heavier body weight to compete against women. What happened? He ended up fracturing the skulls of the women that he was fighting. Well, I think it was just one fight, but totally fractured the side of the woman's skull from being punched.
And I don't know why she felt like she can fight him.
Well, like that girl, all right, she's got big ass balls, because she knew what she was standing there going, that's a fucking dude.
She did, but then she find that, see, that's, and this is what it is,
like, because she's a warrior, you know, she wasn't gonna back down and say, hey, that's not fair. Like, that's what she trained to fight. She was a fighter, right?
Yeah.
But her logic was like, that's a fucking dude on the other side of the ring. I'm gonna try my damnedest, but this is not fair. I know that must have gone through her head, and it wasn't. And that dude just fucking cleaned up. And it's like, no, we're not equal. We're not equal. It's right there in the fucking ring. Smash your head in.
I bet you they got that on YouTube, man. I promise you. I'm gonna look that up, man. I gotta see that.
Joe was talking about it. It's like, no, things are not the same. Things are not the same. Your heaviest punch is not the same as my heaviest punch. It's just not, you know? And but what I noticed, and like, kind of just real quick, back to what you're saying about what Kevin was saying, appreciation goes a long way. And this girl that I'm seeing, she's wonderful. She sees it. And almost every time that we spend together, she says, Justin, thank you. She thanks me. Wow. And we don't, I mean, sometimes we do cool shit. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just chill, right? Cook some dinner, watch a couple movies and kick it. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a special thing. She's like, thank you. Because she knows what she gets from spending time with me just by being in my presence, and how different it is from her other options. And she's like, thank you.
Because that's your 28-year-old boy.
Yeah.
28-year-old man. I mean, I remember when I was 28, boy, I was not the same guy. I mean, I had some type of respect, but no.
So like, just the simple act of her saying thank you goes so far, because what that means is she sees the bigger picture.
The value.
It's not me just doing something nice for her and saying, oh, thank you. It's knowing the value that I bring when she spends time with me. And she's really appreciative of that, because she understands that it's a rare commodity. And I just wish that relating back to what Kevin was saying is understanding that bigger picture and saying, men, thank you. I know it's not all fucking perfect. Yeah, some people are really fucking unhappy. Some people are really disenfranchised. We're working on it, right?
We need you.
We're working on it, but say thank you, right? Though all those roads that you take to your corporate job, those are laid by men, and underneath those pavement is brick.
And most of those corporate jobs that's created is by men.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying it's like underneath, it's like layers of it. Like that nice clean pavement, that nice neat clean pavement that was laid down, underneath that was brick roads that was laid one by one by dudes breaking their back, right? Underneath that is all the plumbing, the city plumbing that was all formed, welded, and constructed by men. So
what do you think was at the water plants? So you have fresh water running in your when you're dicing vegetables up for the family.
Yeah,
the farmers. It's like 96% farmers are men. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like,
you don't have to take your shit in a bucket and toss it out the window. The fact that you can sit on a nice clean toilet, and when you take a dump and you say bye-bye, and it's gone and it's clean out of your mind, you don't have to think about it, don't have to do nothing, right? That's because of men.
Yeah.
You're wiping your ass. You're wiping your ass because of men. Toilet paper was, I can't say this for a fact, so, you know, I'll put that out there, but toilet paper might have been designed by men.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put it past them either.
Yeah, because they're like, this is a problem. Leaves kind of suck. You know, fabric kind of sucks. We got to work with something that's a little bit more efficient, you know, and that's how dudes think. Like, they think, what is a better way to solve this problem? And they're with this scrutiny that's on so many guys, and so many guys paying attention to the scrutiny, it's fucking up the whole shit, man. It's fucking it up. And a
With you,
lot of
man.
unhappy women out there.
And they're going to be. They outnumber us. And if women were more competitive, then they would understand that what we need should be of a value, because not all women are going to marry and not all women are going to have kids, because they can't. And they just don't have. It's not enough men in this world. And the United States, what is 1901? So good luck. Like, good luck. You guys should be the most competitive you ever been in the world. So you shouldn't be teaming up with garbage and BS in regards of the stuff that you want, instead of addressing the needs that we have.
Yep.
Because we are the ones, like I hear all the time, like, they control access to sex, we control access to the relationship. So at the end of the day, you know that if that's the case, then you need to follow the leader.
Yeah.
Master the game, Simon says. How about that?
Provided there's a caveat that Simon's a good fucking dude.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to be worth. He's got to be
you have
worth
to vet him
listening
too.
to.
For a woman that doesn't read the fine print on somebody's resume, that's on you.
Yeah. Because dudes can copy all kinds of shit. Right.
Oh yeah.
And but that doesn't mean that that there's quality there. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I was listening to like this one dude that I interviewed, and he's a bodybuilder, and he lived in Thailand for a while, and he was telling me how fucking crazy different it is over there, and he was saying this because prostitution's legal, and he said,
it is. Kids are men though.
Kids are losing their virginity at a very young age. No, there's plenty of women that they're working the streets, men, really? Women, whatever, you know. And he said, yeah, boys lose their virginity super young, and it's cheap. You can have sex anytime you want, doesn't matter. And so what that does, it's taking that out as a playing chip. It is not on the table at all. So women have to compete in a different way. They're like, what else can I have as a bargaining chip? And they're basically training themselves, or their mothers are training them to be like better wives, to be the best wife that they possibly can. And because that's what they're competing for. And they can't use sex as some sort of gateway token to get with them, because it's not even a desirable thing, because it's so common and so easily accessible and so cheap. And it's not like they're the ugly women.
Alpha men though is in that position now. Most men that understand themselves and are in that position. I mean, women, sex is easy. It's never been an issue. It's those men who can't find out who they are and use it to their advantage. They have a lot of issues. Yeah,
and they're all kinds of fucked up. Well, I think we could probably go on and on about this subject, and you know, eventually it comes down to getting in touch with yourself, right? And that's the beginning and the end. That's the alpha and the omega right there, is just getting in touch with yourself and not really paying too much attention to what anybody else thinks. Yep. I
totally agree, man. I mean, man, it's difficult for me, because I feel like that we're in a losing battle right now, because I see a lot of men that are okay in their position of being in a position where they're pedestalizing women and feeling like the women are the prize. You know what I mean? So that's where we're losing, and we're losing majorly, because when we lose those guys and they're not understanding their rightful place, then the unbalanced world is going to continue to happen, and then you start having all type of funny stuff that goes on. So
yeah, and it completely balances out or unbalances that yin yang principle. It's the ecology is completely thrown off.
Oh, 100%.
Totally thrown off. But I remember this study. It was funny. There was a study that I was reading about where they took a bunch of women from different economic places, different parts of the country, and they showed them, I think, pictures and videos of different guys doing different things, right? And being different ways. And the women were there. There was anything from just like anti-feminist to like just your regular woman to like sort of feminist to like straight up militant feminist. And the most common dude that they all liked, even the militant feminists, was your classic, I guess, um, misogynistic pig who was all about himself. He was deemed as the most attractive of all these guys. And I'm just like, damn, right? Like the proof is just like right there, proof in the pudding that yeah, yeah, being a fucking self-absorbed, arrogant person is attractive, right? And those guys who are that way, they're not really concerned with what anybody else thinks of them. They're just concerned with what they think of them.
I think that should be all, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It would solve a lot of problems if we had a little bit more self-love, a little bit more self-respect.
You know what our kids would look like on the streets? It wouldn't be half the problems that's going on, man.
That would solve so much. Just that one thing right there, just leveling up the self-respect.
Yeah.
That would change so much on the streets.
All these disrespectful kids out here, man. I mean, it would change, man.
Mm-hmm.
I wish my kids would. I got 4 boys, man.
Mm.
I wish anyone would be disrespectful with my last name.
Mm.
I wish you would. I'm gonna have to hurt you, and they know that, and they understand the value that I hold with my last name. I mean, this means something to me, and it should mean something to you. It should mean something to your mom. You know what I mean? Like all that. So,
yeah. And if you have pockets of this all around, that's when you can start changing society. You can't change it with social pressure. You can't change it with laws, right? It just doesn't work, right? Yeah, you'll stop certain behaviors from happening due to fear of punishment, but that doesn't stop the internal, right? I mean, they even had the death penalty. What is that still existing in? Well,
California,
and I think in Texas they still got the chair, right? I still think they
don't do the chair out here. It's all gas chamber.
Yeah, that doesn't stop people, right?
We should bring back stoning, though. Certain things, neighborhood stoning. I love it. Them pedophiles and all that. Bring it. Come on, it's a neighborhood problem right now. Let's go ahead and stone them.
Yeah. But
see, and that's just too violent. It's just too violent on the eyes. You just can't do it this way. Hey,
but that's kind of what happens socially, and that's sort of what I was getting at with some of these people who are like labeling shit toxic masculinity, because that's sort of like that tribe mentality of like ganging up on shit that you don't fully understand, right? So you take a dude who you are deeming as toxically masculine. Okay, let's say we do something simple where it's one of those classic scenes of like a construction dude standing on the side, having his coffee break, and he's catcalling some woman. The woman's going to see that as toxic, right? But instead of blanketing that, let's look at this person as an individual, right? Maybe he's fucking scared to talk to women, because if he was really interested, he would say, "Hold on, fellas," and walk up to that woman and say, "Hey, I see you every single day. I know you're busy. I don't mean to intrude on you.
I'm here to change your life."
Right. But I wanted to introduce myself. I see you here every day and I think you're gorgeous. My name's so-and-so, right? But he's got something going on inside him, plus social pressure from his boys, right? They get that peer pressure to act a certain way that may not be even in alignment with who he is, right? And he's dealing with something inside him that has nothing to do with toxicity. It just happens to come out that way, right? Or you got someone who's really fucking violent and is hurting people, and we say, "Oh, that's fucking toxic," right? Just put a blanket on there and just label it, say, "Throw him out," right? Get rid of him, right? But if we really look at this person as an individual, you're probably going to find a lot of pain, a lot of rejection that you're giving more of, right? And let's look at these men as individuals. And yeah, some of them are really fucked up and need help.
That's all I've been talking about. That's what I talked about earlier too, about this Me Too stuff. This is like they categorize us all and puts us all in a position to be dealt with a certain way. It's blanketed. I think it should be different. And just like you'll never hear toxic feminists, toxic femininity. You'll never see that because we don't view that as a problem when you're feminine.
Right.
we view when you're trying to be masculine. Yeah. You know, that's the problem. That's not who you are.
Right. When you see toxic femininity, it's labeled as being strong. Right. They're being strong. When it's like actually they got straight up poison coming out of their mouth and all kinds of vitriol, and they're being really obtuse and argumentative and completely unpleasant and extremely ill-mannered, right? There you can be fired up and still get your point across without being a fuckhead about it, right? And this should require 100%. Skill and emotional maturity. Right? You don't have to get all up in there and start acting like an angry dude, right? You know, even that 100%. Coming from a dude looks like shit, right? You look out of control
weak.
And
look weak.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you don't look sexually disciplined. You know what I mean?
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
Well, no, they don't see it. No, man.
I dig it.
Well, Akeem, it was fantastic talking with you, man, and getting to know you a little bit better. And I've just started watching your videos and enjoying them so far. Some of them are kind of long, so I got to sit.
I go extremely hard, man. I appreciate you. I actually have an audio only podcast. Are you talking about the YouTube ones?
Yeah, I checked out your stuff.
Ones are different.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So my other podcast is Raw and Uncut Podcast, and that's where it's me. It's a cousin of mine, my cousin Lucky, and it's a female. So her name is Lynn, and man, we get into it, man. It's like it's a heavyweight bout, man. I'm talking about masculinity all day long, man. It's a great podcast. It's a whole lot of downloads, and then my YouTube is I really just started working on that, like really, I say within about 6 months. I was dabbling a little bit, but now really I went full throttle YouTube, and I still do my audio only. I just cut it down to once every other week instead of every week, so I can still feel like I have a life, man. Because you know it's this is time consuming when you if you allow it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm so happy that you invited me, man. Just to come on the show, man. I enjoy this. I enjoy speaking to good men and good brothers with heads on the shoulder, man. I did some research on you too. So for me, I was like, yes, 100%, man. Let's do it. Let's rock. Because I think our message is very similar. And I think that because of it, man, I love to communicate with good brothers, man, because it's not enough of us, man. We're prehistoric. I'm like T-Rex, man. You know what I mean? I'm supposed to be dead and gone, but I'm still moving around living.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I appreciate rapping with you, man, and anytime, and I'm definitely going to have you on mine too.
Yeah, definitely. So just to reiterate, because you kind of like quickly went over, could just repeat where people could find you both with your podcast and your YouTube and IG.
So my podcast is an entity of what I do. I'm a life coach, dating coach. I have a background in psychology. People don't know. But what I will tell you is you can type in Mr. 1950 on YouTube. It's Raw and Uncut Podcast is one of the entities from my brand. So you can type in Raw and Uncut Podcast and you will find me, Akeem, and I'll rock and roll on that thing. And then for my YouTube, it's just Mr. 1950, man. I'll rock and roll on that thing too. I'm pretty consistent. I have a good time in what I do. I enjoy talking about man stuff, relationships, and I try to challenge the norm of accepting what society wants men to be in, which is a small, tiny, miniature box. So I really appreciate it, brother, man. And like I said, man, we have to rock again.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been great. All right, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up. And Akeem, it was great, and look forward
Thank you.
to catching up with you again.
100%.
This is the Forge Project. Thank you for listening, and we're out.